a bunch of crazy stories written by the Brothers Grimm. And now you're gonna learn all about them, listening to the Brothers Grimm.
Students and scholars, friends and relations, welcome to the Brothers Dim podcast, a podcast in which we have a frank, no-nonsense discussion about the collection of fairy tales collected in the early 1800s in Germany by the Brothers Grimm, including this week's tale, story number 67, The 12 Huntsmen. My name is Phil.
And my name is Mike.
Mike, how are you now?
Certainly without any nonsense.
No nonsense.
I'm good. Just caught up on Yellow Jackets. Very good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Season 3 going well?
It is. The previous episode was a little slow, but it picked back up now. So good stuff.
Okay. Well, this is a no-nonsense show. I would like to be serious and tell you this. My father is dying. No, I'm just yeah.
I was like, oh, what?
No, I actually I don't know. We don't really speak, but
I was gonna say,
I don't think he wouldn't tell me if he was dying anyway. He had cancer once and he never told anyone.
Yeah, kind of. I don't know him well, but that sounds accurate.
Yeah, but there is a reason for that dark little joke, which everyone will find out soon enough.
Yes.
Mike, do you have a grade?
I didn't love it. I gave it a C.
Huh.
Really?
Okay, yeah.
Here?
Yeah, no, but go on.
It was weird. I don't know. There was a little too much just sort of abrupt obtuseness, which is weird after, I think, what was it, last week we did the one about the rabbit.
Oh,
which is just ended because the girl didn't want to be there.
Anyways, the girl leaves.
Yeah, bye. I don't know. This one just didn't resonate with me too well.
Okay. I gave it an A, and I'll tell you why.
Really?
I did. I liked all of the characters, and there were
rare.
It is rare. The characters were all likable, and there were no loose strings. Plus, apropos of nothing. Well, I think we can get into it, but
I feel like there are at least 11 loose strings.
No. I don't think that there are, but I mean, okay. But I can see what you're saying. We talk about it a little bit, but yeah. And apropos of nothing, the dude's best friend and confidant is a lion, a talking lion.
That is strange. Well, he just kind of inherited it.
Like you do, I suppose.
Yeah.
But that's my opinion. That's your opinion. Let's see what everyone else thinks. Mike, if you don't mind, I will take us through the plot of Grimm, story number 67, The 12 Huntsmen.
I cannot wait, please.
Once upon a time, there was a prince and a princess who were betrothed, very happy, and living off somewhere. She doesn't have a name, but she's Princess 1. It comes to pass that the prince's father was dying. So the prince says, I need to go off to see dad, but honey, I love you, baby. Here's a ring to remember me by, and I will come back after my dad kicks it. Off he goes. And on his deathbed, the old king says, I need you to marry a different princess, son. This is princess number 2.
This one is just the worst.
Princess, okay. Princess 1 finds out, and she frets so much she nearly dies. Her father, seeing her in distress, this is a different king, but asks her what's wrong, and can I just buy you something and that'll make you feel better? Princess 1 says yes. Go out and find me 11 girls that look exactly like me, and I'll do the rest. And so 2 things there, I guess. One, this is Germany, so sure.
Anything also, for you, darling.
King brings the 11 girls back to the castle to meet Princess 1, and she has laid out 12 hunter outfits, tells them to all get dressed in these clothes. We're going to find my former lover and king of the next town over.
A lot of kings around here.
Yeah, there are a lot of kings. They get in their hunter clothes, they roll in, and they ask if the king needs a dozen hunters. The king saw that they were quite handsome, so he hires them.
Which is, the number one most desired trait of a hunter.
100%.
That's what I'm always looking for.
Listen, I don't go to hunting camp expecting ugly dudes.
Right.
Anyways, King's best friend and pet is a lion, a talking lion. And he says, bro, those are ladies. King says, no. Lion says, swear to God. And I know how to prove it.
I always tell the truth.
Spill a bunch of peas on the ground of the anteroom. And the women, when they come in, these hunters, they'll fall over themselves and trip because girls are clumsy and weak. The king says, okay, well, I'll try that plan. But there was a servant of the king who liked the hunters. He heard the plan, goes off and tells the girls, who just concentrate really hard and are able to walk around not caring about peas on the ground.
Stomp those peas.
Stomp those peas. The king is like, see, you see lion? Dudes. Well, next day, the same thing happens with the lion, except this time the lion says they must have known about the peas. This time, bring some spinning wheels in, and there's no way they won't start making thread and sewing because women love sewing and shit. Am I right?
My liege. They are
liege.
chicks.
Chicks love sewing. But again, the other servant warns the girls they don't pay attention to the spinning wheels. King says, "Okay, lion, they are dudes, and I shan't hear any more about this. And you are now out of favor with me, and now it's time for the hunt." So off they go hunting, and someone mentions that Princess 2 is on her way to the kingdom. Princess 1 falls to the ground crying. King, thinking his best hunter and most handsome hunter is hurt, runs up, takes the glove off, and boom, sees the ring he gave her, realizes it's Princess 1. Never really wanted Princess 2 anyway, so calls off the wedding with Princess 2, sends a message to her to go home, for he had a wife already, and a man who just found an old dish did not require a new one.
That's one of my favorite lines.
It's very good. King and Princess 1 get married, and then the lion comes back into favor because he had been right all along. The end.
They were ladies.
He was, yeah, the lion was right. I swear to God, they're the chicks, dude. Can't have chicks on the hunt, probably. Even though the goddess of the hunt is a woman.
Are these not the most handsome men you've ever seen? Come on. Come on.
So handsome. And they're making me feel a little unusual and making me question some things about myself. Do you have a moral?
Oh, boy. I mean, it's, just try, and it'll probably work out for you.
There you go, yeah.
I don't know. You know how I am with the morals.
Mine is ladies, or really, I guess men too. But ladies, just if you really want that guy to be your man, sometimes just waiting pays off. He'll come
or
back
sometimes you
real
got to be his man.
fast. You know who understood that moral
Who?
in about a real a way as you can take this? Is Catherine, the Princess of Wales, married to the Prince and future King of England, William Sussex, or whatever the fuck his last name is.
Oh, you're talking Kate Middleton.
Kate Middleton, yeah.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, Catherine, the Princess of Wales, who's, I don't know if you know this. Do you know what her nickname was?
No.
I learned this after I got married to my wife, who's interested in such things. Waity Katie, because it took so long for William to propose. They were off again, on again. They were dealing with some naughty behavior from William. And she just she was like, "No, fuck that. I'm going to wait it out. I'm going to stick it out." And in the end, her kids will presumably sit on the throne of England, or if not that, be very, very wealthy. I don't know if they'll get rid of the kings of England for a little while.
Yeah, who knows?
But that's my moral. And good for Catherine, Princess of Wales, for taking that one to heart. Do you have any notes? I've got a bunch.
There's not a lot.
One thing I found, I don't know if it's, I found this interesting. I don't know how interesting that other people will, but the original title of this in the first edition was The King with the Lion.
Yeah.
And it was
I
the
did
second
come across that.
Yeah, it was the second edition. They changed it to the 12 Huntsmen and just made a couple of alterations. But I thought that was an interesting switch because it makes her the main character.
I'm assuming it was the same story. And if it is, then it seems much more grim to call it The King and the Lion, or the King with a Lion, or whatever it is. It seems a very grim trope that you have a story named something and it takes you like a page and a half before you even figure out why it's called that in the first place.
Yeah.
And then it turns out to be like a small part of the actual story.
Naming it the 12 Huntsmen makes a lot of sense. There's a lot more that than there is the lion, although I really like the lion so much.
He kind of reminds me of the lion who loved to get drunk. What was that? Some story we did a while ago.
Believe that one was the two brothers.
Yes. Yep. With the menageries.
Yeah. I think.
Did we ever figure out if the other brother's lion was a drunk?
I think no, but there might have been something in the pitch about a different menagerie. Now I'm starting to doubt myself, but that's okay. Doesn't matter. Drunk lions, and I quite like the lion being like, "Oh, my liege."
Dude, the chicks.
I'm telling you, man, the ladies. Now, I did say earlier, I said one of the things I liked about this was there were no loose ends. I think you were cottoning on to that the 11 handmaids, I guess, are they went off to the hunt and then everyone went home and celebrated the marriage. So I consider that a win. They even, Princess 2, they at least sent a messenger off screen to go tell her. Although that made me think too, like marrying a different princess is kind of wild, because if we're gonna be scholarly about this, and I scholarly in quotes and barely that, but so marriage back then is just currency. make sure that your alliances are strong. And it reminded me a little bit of Game of Thrones.
In what way?
Robb Stark, King of the North, betrothed to one of Walder Frey's daughters to strengthen that alliance, which would have kept him alive, would have kept him in the North. A whole bunch of shit would have happened, right?
Yeah.
Instead, he marries Jane Westerling in the books. I forget what her name was in the TV show, but marries Jane Westerling because she's hot and nice and slept with him. And we don't know what happens after this story. And I don't want to step on your story if you were going down this direction, but doing things like that is a quick way to no longer be the king of the town.
Yeah, no, typically. But that I will say that did lead us to one of the greatest scenes in fiction ever, though.
Which was?
The Red Wedding.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
The talk of that when it aired was what got me to start reading the books in the first place, because I hadn't read the books and I hadn't watched the show at all. And I was like, well, this sounds interesting. I'll start reading the books.
I remember when the first book came out and I started reading it and like didn't get through it.
This Ned Stark guy, I don't know.
Yeah, and then the first season came out and it was so good. And then I read the first book again and loved it and realized they were just setting up these characters. All the characters that were going to die were the non-interesting ones, and I was like, "This is brilliant." Just I changed my mind. I should have just finished it. Something popped into my head, which was a little bit weird. But
what's that?
Do you remember Homestar Runner?
I do.
Okay, for anyone listening who doesn't know what that is, 30 years ago or thereabouts, there was an online cartoon I know named Homestar Runner. He and his pals had various small comedic adventures every week. And one of the characters was the king of town, dressed in traditional king garb, but really didn't do much of anything. I always thought the name is funny, but damned if Grimm isn't chock full of people who are just the king of their one town. You can walk a single evening. So we were talking about like 40 miles tops, and you're in Grimm, you're in a new kingdom. And so that just means that, yeah, you're the king of that town. It's a small city at best.
Yeah, it's like Foursquare.
Lord, speaking of 30-year-old things, I don't think they were referencing Grimm, but you never know with those two. And you know what? And they called themselves the Brothers Chaps.
That's a good point.
So maybe it was.
Oh my God, maybe they're all analogs, and we just haven't thought it through.
I'm sure we could make a line, but I'm sure that's not it. They were just, they mostly went on the rule of funny. Like, I don't know who Coach Z would be, but anyways.
Hey, Swangbad.
Maybe we'll write an email to the Brothers Chaps too, and they can confirm it.
I'm sure they haven't heard theories in a while.
One character I quite liked, I would like to talk about a little bit.
Oh, do please. Besides the lion?
The non-lion servant of the king.
Oh, yes. I wanted to talk about that too.
Okay. So here's my thought.
Yep.
He was betting at least one, if not all 11 of those girls, right?
I was pretty sure too.
He saw him get undressed after a hunt once. And what jokes and japes are at play here. Hello, ladies. You're 18, you say? Well, that means we can flirt. Would you like me to whisper something very dirty in your ear? Would you and your friends like to take turns sitting on my face, or should we just keep this between the two of us for now? Well, oh, we shall have such delights.
Yeah, no, I had the same thought. I was like, there's one dude in the castle who's like, oh, maybe I should tell these guys.
I can't give this up.
And he's the only one that knows that they're women.
There's no fucking way I'm letting my 11 handmaids go. I have been having too much fun. This has been delightful.
It's the best job ever.
I'm just the guy that polishes silverware during the day, but then at night, turns out I really like group sex.
Dear mom and dad. Life is going well at the castle.
I know most of these letters are fake, and you'll never believe what happened to me. That's all the notes I have. Mike, do you have any more notes?
Not a lot. I did come across somebody had written a play based on this, but it turns out it's mostly about the 12 women dressed as huntsmen, sort of on their travels to the castle. And I don't think they ever actually get there. I think it's just sort of it's set up, and then the hook of the play is that they're each telling stories over the campfire.
Okay.
And when you put the play on, you only produce like 3 or 4 of those. But then you can rotate them. You can do random ones. So like different actors get featured different nights. The audience gets a different show every time. I thought it was kind of cute.
Well, 2 things then. I guess one, that's almost like Chaucer.
Yeah.
Had that or or the Decameron, same thing, right? Of just like, here, let's tell all these stories. And I like that as a conceit.
Yeah. So that got me thinking.
Okay.
And I ended up sort of going. I'd call it a pitch.
Okay. Yeah, let's hear your big Hollywood pitch.
Who brave
I don't know if it's a Hollywood pitch so much as a novel.
Okay,
Maybe
all right,
maybe it
yeah.
could be a movie, actually. I don't know. I hadn't thought that far ahead.
Very good. Well, I would
Um,
love to hear it.
I was riffing on the now divorced bride and the lion striking out on their own as like a buddy comedy kind of thing, and I was like, meh. The story picks up. It's the 12 women. They're really being led by the Scorn Maiden, traveling through the woods. None of them really want to go back to their lives as maidens in the village. They've seen this like status and respect that they get when they're masquerading as men. And it's kind of opened their eyes to how crappy they had it to begin with. They ultimately starts expanding this makeshift camp they had for the night into a more permanent settlement. Before long, they decide they're just going to stay right where they are and just live as free women. So this time on their own, they had to pick up some skills for hunting and trapping just to make this journey anyway. Cooking and foraging. Clearly, I've been watching a lot of Yellow Jackets too. So yeah, like after time, they built some cabins and huts, and they're living this satisfying life. One day, a strange old woman kind of approaches their camp. They call out to her. She replies that she means no harm, simply seeks a place to rest her weary bones for the night. They gladly take her in. They feed her a hearty meal, and after dinner, they're sitting around the fire, and they're telling stories, and she reveals she's a hedge witch, trained in the arts of healing, working with plants, communing with spirits.
I like the addition of a hedge witch.
Yeah.
Very grim.
Yeah. The old woman who's impressed with their, the independence that they've been showing and with their growing interest in learning, she agrees to stay on and teach them what she knows, sort of this new generation. And teach them she does. They learn all the properties of different plants and how to commune with spirits, how to blend elixirs, typical sort of hedge witch things. Each of them kind of finds their own niche too. It might be a particular strength of herbology or increased hunting acumen. The women all grow stronger and wiser. The old woman lovingly refers to them as her Pleiades. She explains that that's what she and her kin called themselves when she was a young maiden herself.
Okay.
Anyway, inside the old woman, their mentor, she reaches her end peacefully. One morning, she's just this empty, lifeless body, and it's clear her spirit has moved on. They show their respects with a funeral pyre and celebration of her life and her guidance. And then they go on. They continue to learn and grow. Occasionally, a young lost child wanders across them, as one does in the woods in Germany in the late 1700s. They take them in, they feed them and clean them, but send them on their way. Sometimes they come across a person afflicted with a curse. Maybe they've been turned into a deer or something. One day, many years later, a traveler comes across them and they greet him warily. He's in need of nothing, but he's merely passing through. But he does tell them that word of these witches in the woods has spread to neighboring lands, and there's a mad king determined to find them. After some back and forth, they realize it's none other than the king they'd set out to find and deceive in the first place, Orion. None know why he seeks the witches, but rumor has it they once aided his wife in running away from him, and as a result, he's been unable to find her. And if he can't find her, then he's vowed to find these witches and put an end to their evil ways. So the women are more wary after that. They've already been a little wary of travelers. They take more care to hide their trails and better disguise their dwellings. Mad King doesn't cross their path, but the influx of occasional visitors dries up as well. One day, the women are going about their days when they spot a falcon high in the sky, circling directly overhead. After an hour or two, the thunderous sound of hoofbeats approaches, and they know they've been found. A huge charger bursts into the clearing, ridden by a wild-looking man holding a sword aloft. His riders come in. There's a fight. They manage to take out some of them, but as night falls, they're all sort of pinned in the main building that they have. The men set fire to it from the outside. The thatched roof starts burning. In one sort of last-ditch effort, the original maiden, she tries this ritual where they all gather hands in the middle of the fire. They all succumb to smoke inhalation, but when they wake up, they're outside in the clearing. There's no fire. Nobody's there, and their old mentor is there. And she explains that they've moved on to their next phase, but this ritual gathered so much magical energy, they actually banished the Mad King and his men to the sky, where he's doomed to forever be chasing their essences, now this new constellation in the sky that they've never seen before. This is the next phase of our learning, so gather round and then kind of something like that.
It's unfinished, but it's really interesting. I like the build up. I like the enemy. I like the king. I like them moving on to the next phase too. Are we doing like an Aesop?
Yeah, sort of. I think that's like in my head that was sort of how the Pleiades were thought of. And
Okay.
I wasn't as accurate as I thought it was when I started looking it up. I think it's more just like a concept of like it's the seven sisters and they're constantly being chased by Orion.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessarily like people that had ascended.
I think I like it a lot. I want to be clear.
But
Obviously, if you wanted to develop it into a novel, you would have to develop it into a novel.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, it's a little unfinished, but like the concept of the story, I don't think is unfinished, and I like it quite a bit.
I think I have this habit of writing outlines and then writing an intense amount of detail about one specific part.
Yeah. Well, that's all right. Well, love it. And I say we should develop all these stories that
Oh, totally.
we're absolutely going to do, I'm sure.
I do got to get these up on the site.
Yeah, that's okay. Mike, are there places where people could find us if they were looking for us?
Indeed. We're always at brothersdimpodcast@gmail.com. We've got our newish website, brothersdim.com, and we're on Blue Sky at brothersdim.
And we're also available wherever you get your podcasts. So if you like listening to our nonsense, please share and enjoy the Brothers Dim with all your friends, and to all of our friends and relations. Thank you for listening. Sleep tight. We will see you next time.
See you next time.